This week on the Navigating Personal Growth podcast.
Joy doesn't cancel out your grief. It adds balance to it. A simple ritual can create space for both love and loss, and strength isn't in moving on, it's moving with. Hey Navigators, my name is Brooke Plack, and I'm your host here today on the Navigating Personal Growth show. And if you've ever felt guilty laughing while grieving or wondered how joy could sneak into your darkest days, this is the episode for you. Can you laugh after someone dies? Right? You will learn 3 powerful tools today: how to let joy coexist with grief without shame, a simple ritual to honor the loss that you've experienced while still fully living, and one quick mindset reframe that'll help you to move forward without moving on. I hate that phrase, moving on, right? You don't move on from grief, moving forward, right? So your 3 takeaways are going to be that joy doesn't cancel out your grief. It adds balance to it. A simple ritual can create space for both love and loss, and strength isn't in moving on, it's moving with. So be sure to subscribe and follow us so you don't miss out on our weekly episodes that drop every Thursday as we navigate well through life together. And so today I'm going to tell you a deeply personal story about losing my mom. So I feel like my life has been riddled with grief, and the fall just brings a sprinkling of it. So first we have the death anniversary of my mom committing suicide. Then we have the anniversary of losing our first angel baby, so our first baby to miscarriage, and which was last October. And then the next day we have the anniversary of my brother-in-law being killed unexpectedly at work. He was electrocuted on the job, and it's like grief after grief after grief every fall. Like we kick off the holiday season with like a whole episode of grief 2.0 in our household. And I remember losing my mom. It's now been 12 years, and I distinctly remember the first time I laughed after she died, and I literally gasped and caught myself like, what am I doing laughing? My mom is dead. And I felt ashamed and embarrassed. I shouldn't be doing that. How could I laugh when I was so heartbroken? And that's truly what we're going to unpack today: the messy and real coexistence of grief and joy. And even though it's been 12 years since she died now, this past week was her death anniversary, I really struggled so bad with wanting her to still be alive. And I still have that hanging over me feeling of how could I just keep on living and everyone just keep on living, and my mom is dead. You want to shake people and say, but my mom is dead, but my mom is dead, but my mom is dead. And you may have that feeling of grief because someone's died. You may have lost a pet, and that is a very, very real type of grief. A job, a divorce, a relationship. All of those experiences and so many more fall under the umbrella of grief. And they are really profound and really hard. And in life, it's hard not to live there. But over time, I will never say that time heals all wounds. I do not believe in that. But I do believe that you learn to live with those wounds. You learn to live with the scars. And so what I mean by grief and joy living together, because this could be a totally foreign topic to you, is that you are giving yourself permission to experience happiness even in the loss. And then likewise, to honor the sadness in the good times. So you're giving yourself permission to experience happiness even in the loss, and to honor sadness even in the good times. And it's not denial of either. You are choosing, knowingly, willingly choosing to live life fully in the tension of both. Because grief is the price of love. But you know what? Joy is proof that love still lives on. And you can experience both of those so fully in your life. If only we can make it through life and never experience grief. But that's not the reality of our existence. And so here's my question for you. Have you ever laughed in the middle of heartbreak and then felt guilty for it? Have you ever laughed in the middle of heartbreak? Hold on to that memory, because that's the memory we're going to reframe today after we do Trivia in the Trenches, which is my favorite segment in the podcast. What was the first Hot Wheels car? A Camaro! May 18th, 1968, as part of the original Sweet 16 collection, it featured Spectraflame, metallic paint, and red line wheels, and was inspired by the muscle cars and the hot rods of the era. If I think back to being a child, I feel like a Camaro, like the little red car, you saw the most of those, right? Now they make them in all different kinds. So that's your fun random fact for today. Why do we do trivia in the trenches? Because even in the heart of life, sometimes it's good to have something lighthearted, right? But today, we're going to launch into our 3 navigation points. So if it's your first time on the show, welcome. Our navigation points are how we get from where we are to where we want to be in life. And today, it's all about grief and joy. And so our first navigation point is about reframing. Reframing that guilt and shame we feel and learning that joy is not betrayal. Okay? Because we often feel guilty when joy appears after a loss. And I'm in that bucket too. But the joy does not erase your grief. It truly honors the love that was underneath it. Because your loved one, if it was a death in your life, your previous job that was once a good provider for you, does not have to be something that holds you down for the rest of your life, right? That previous loved one would want you to do well. Your purpose in life is not to stay in a grief mode of what a previous relationship was or what a breakup was. Because when you smile and laugh and feel at peace, you're not disrespecting your loss. You're showing that love left a legacy inside of you. And so when the joy shows up, instead of feeling guilty or feeling shameful, this is what you're going to say to yourself. This is your reframe. This joy honors my love for what once was, my love for my precious Yorkie Josie that I had for 12 years that I still miss dearly. She died in 2017, and I will never, ever forget her. But I cried on the couch like a baby for 18 straight hours when she died. It was like a whole piece of me was gone. That grief was so real. And for someone that's not a pet owner, they may not understand that. And that's okay because everyone's journey is different. So number one, how are we going to not feel ashamed and know that it is okay to laugh? Maybe not during, but after death, right? Is to reframe and knowing that joy is not a betrayal. That's number one. Number two is to create a grief and joy ritual because rituals help us hold both emotions in a safe space. It creates safety. So for example, light a candle at dinner and share a memory about that person, maybe on their birthday or a special celebration that you guys had together, or take a walk on their death anniversary and notice a beautiful thing that they would have loved too. Or play your favorite song and dance and let yourself cry and know that that's truly deeply okay to still feel all of those real emotions. Because just because their physical body is no longer here, that does not mean that their spiritual body and that their soul has disappeared from this planet. Because the Bible tells us there's nothing new under the sun. What was here will always be here. And so know that rituals will let you feel the sadness without losing the chance to celebrate what is good. And those rituals can feel safe and give us something to look forward to as well. So practice one ritual next time this feeling of grief comes up and keep it simple and repeatable. It doesn't have to be a big all-out celebration where you involve thousands of people. Maybe it is. Maybe you stream it live. I don't know. But it can be something as simple as going to somewhere that you guys love together, or eating their favorite food, or lighting their favorite scent in a candle. Or for my mom, every time I pass a woman that wears her perfume, it takes me back to that moment being with her. And I try to remember the good and how beautiful she was and how great care she took care of herself and really cared about the way she looked and smelled and wanted to be her best self for the world. And it can take you back to those moments. And so knowing that we can reframe it and we can also create rituals that help us feel safe in experiencing both of those emotions. And number three, it is a move with and not a move on mindset. No one ever has the right to tell you to just move on. Okay. You can tell him, Brooke said, no one ever has that right to tell you to just move on, because I believe grief is something that you carry with you for the rest of your journey. It is not something that you can just get past and stuff away, because the pressure to move on, I believe, is what keeps us feeling shame and creating that shame and keeps us feeling stuck. And that is not where we want to be, because the goal is not to get rid of your grief. It's to carry it in a way that still allows for joy. Because remember, joy is what honors that love that was once there, because you don't need to move on. Say it again for the people in the back. You don't need to move on. You can move with your story, with your journey. And so here's how to practice this today, is to write down, or maybe just mentally identify, what's one thing that you're carrying with you and how you're going to allow joy to grow alongside it. So even though my mom is not here, I can still have special relationships with other women in my life, right? But sometimes I feel like we come up with these objections for ourselves, right? Almost unintentionally. And they could look like this. But if I laugh, it means I didn't love them. No, honey, your joy proves that their love still shapes you. They taught you how to love and what love felt like. I'll never feel normal again. And this could be true after any loss, but maybe not your old normal, but you can get a new rhythm where that grief and joy is still possible, right? Or it hurts too much to try. And I've been there. I have been there, and I feel that to my bones. But it only hurts because you loved them deeply. And that hurt that fuels your tears will also fuel your smiles as you learn to move with this in your life. Because like for me, I have to acknowledge it's been hard missing my mom. But tonight, I'm going to tell a funny story about her to Crew. Last night, we sat at the table and I showed him a picture of me and my mom and my grandma and my great-grandma and my great-great-grandma. And I explained to him that although they were all dead, these are all the women in his story that came before him, that came before me. And that moment may not mean anything to him right now, but one day he'll look back on that picture and he'll begin to see them as humans and see their stories and understand his legacy. And that's special to me. The moment wasn't just for him. It's healing for me too. Because joy and grief, they can sit at that same table together. And so I want to close out with this thought. Psalm tells us that weeping may last through the night, but joy comes in the morning. And sometimes I still find it very hard to believe that. And if that's you today, I understand. You're not alone. But just know that strength is not found in moving on. It's moving with. And if you loved this episode today, share it with someone. There's so many of us out there grieving, hurting, feeling alone. But if we can do this together, we can learn how to navigate life well, knowing that there's no one right way, no one right path in this journey, but it's better when we're doing it together. Until next time.
Thanks for listening to the Navigating Personal Growth podcast. I'm Brooke Plack. Join me again next week on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube. This podcast is produced by ClantonCreative.com.